I can't believe it's another year. How about you? It seems to go by so quick this year. And what a difference a year really makes. From a Generation W perspective, I'd just love to share with you, it's been a spectacular year. We launched research with UNF's Center for Community Initiatives, and it's all about creating this scorecard about measuring women's leadership in local organizations and influential companies. It's important to know who and what the decision makers look like for all of us, and then make decisions whether we want to participate with that as well. We'll have an update of that research on June 2nd, actually here in our town, right before the EVE Summit. And we're going to do that with a lot of leaders in this room, so if there's anyone here that's interested in that, we would love for you to join us. We continue to be wowed by our WOW girls. And for those of you who are not aware, that's our mentoring program. It's where the leaders of today meet the leaders of tomorrow. It's where we learned about this fantastic magic, and it's called Wowsdom. It's the combination of the wow of our girls and the wisdom of our women. We're so inspired by it that we've actually written a book, where we're writing a book. And a lot of people here actually jumped in on our Kickstarter campaign to make it a reality. And hopefully we'll have the books in as many girls' hands by the fall as we possibly can. And about 18 agencies were changed by Hearts and Hands coming together, I guess in February, for Generation Works. And is Leslie Slover, did she wake up yet? Well, if she did, yay! We love your leadership. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. You know, when we began to think about this year, we were taken by a couple of things. At the top of the list was just how quickly the world is changing. Do we even have time to notice? I mean, really, heads down. I'm always doing my laundry. I don't know about you. I think everyone can agree, no matter where you sit in the world, that at some point it just feels like it's dizzying in pace. I think of something, and there's an app for that. Some days I wish there was an app for that I'm thinking of, but we don't have to talk about that now. But when we thought about imagination, innovation, and inspiration, the power and its impact, we noticed that there was a common underlying theme. Think about it with me. Let's talk about it, right? Imagination. It's the ability to form new ideas. I know the bankers don't think they're imaginative, but I've been involved in some of your deals. I think they're very creative. But it's the ability to see the world in a different way. And what is that? That's change, right? How about innovation? Innovation is the new way to do things. It's working outside the box. Pat has done an amazing job. He's going to talk about that today with a whole group of really innovative people. But what's that about? Change. And then there's inspiration. It's the ability to be motivated, right? To do things also in a new way, to behave differently. And what's that about? It's about change. Change is ever present, it's ever constant, and we deal with it every single day. And you add the fuel of influence like social media, technology, globalization, travel, and my goodness, everything is accelerated. Woo! You ever feel like that? I do. Change is so fast, it seems like the good old days were yesterday. Remember when cameras used to use film and they had this camera called the Instamatic? What's more Instamatic than pulling up your phone, right, and taking a picture? Phones didn't fit in your pocket. Tinder was something you used to light a fire. Thanks, Sonny, for that one. And Google was transformed from a noun to a verb. And then how about this one? Remember when we actually used to talk to each other? See, the question for me is, when does all this change mean to us every day as friends, as coworkers, as colleagues, as parents, as children, as humans? We're frightened by it. We're motivated by it. But change is in the power of ideas and the power of stories, and that is really why we are here together today, is to share that power of ideas and stories and see how we can take that in and on some level find out where we want to continue to change. I had a hugely defining experience this past year. And because my teams always said, Donna, you should tell them something personal about you, I'm like, okay, this is quite personal. I received in an email that I was nominated to receive the Black Rose Award. It was from the League of Black Women. I had never heard of the organization. Of course, I was intrigued, and my first response was what? Why do they want me? I actually said that to them when I went up to get the award. I said, why me? So I called the leader of their organization. It's a wonderful woman named Shirley Finley, and I said, Shirley, talk to me. What's going on? What is your organization? And she says, what I do is we do research to help empower and educate Black women to achieve leadership roles in companies. And I said, well, that's great. So after a little while, I said, tell me what's the most important here? What would you like me to talk about? She said, I'd like you to talk about being a white woman of privilege. And I said, okay. And I took a pause and I said, honestly, I have never, ever thought of myself that way. I never thought of myself as somebody of privilege. Yes, I'm white. I get that part. But others clearly did. And that was the thing I had to wrap myself around. I had to wrestle with it. What does that mean? I mean, it wasn't going to be the first time I walked into a room where I was a singleton, where people did not look like me, they didn't think like me. It's like every day at my work, right? To be the solo representative of anything, whether it's race, size, gender, sexual orientation, disabilities, ethnicity, all of that, it grabs your attention. It expands your humanity. And you know what? It changes your perspective. And I have to tell you, it's that change that's worth working for. So, based on that theme, I thought I would just check in with the men today. How you guys doing? Right? We are so glad you're here. We are. Because we feel you. Because so many of us in this room have been in your seats. But you know what? We're so glad you have them today, for the change in perspective is worth working for. So back to my story, just to quickly, I stood in front of that room with this beautiful sculpture, which I keep on my desk at home, and I spoke of color. Because that was the question to me. They wanted to know about mine, but I wanted to know about theirs, and I wanted to know where the ours and the us fit in. And perhaps it was just that first open and honest request, really, that kind of, maybe it was the spark for the real change agent. It was permission for all of us to talk to each other. They said, Donna, we invite you. And I said, I accept. My friend Darnell Smith always speaks to the power of trust. He does. And perhaps that was what it was all about, this trust enabling profound reflections and change for me. And today, I hope we are in a room of trust. How do we see each other? How do others see you? And how do you see yourself? It's really, really powerful. I promise you that experience has me think about that every single day. Changes in perspective totally helps rewrite our own personal narratives. So it's been really a great year, and I had the privilege to share lots of stories of change with lots of people, and I hope that you have too. But today, I get a chance to invite a couple of people, and they said, I accept, and so they will be here. Let me introduce to you the first one, if I could. I don't really need to read this because I kind of know this. The first person who's going to share with you a story of change is a young man I have known his whole entire life. I can imagine that it could be very challenging to have a mom who's always talking about girls to their sons. Two of them are...
Good morning. I grew up in a community that believed boys were meant to like sports, be tough, be strong, and hide their emotions that seem feminine. And alternatively, girls were more fragile, submissive, and more interested in aesthetics. My parents resisted this trend by instilling a unique perspective in my brother and me. After all, my dad and my Uncle Ed did all the cooking and cleaning. Well, the kids did the cleaning. And as I thought about how they raised me, I realized I'm so fortunate to have parents who not only stretch the confines of gender, but let my brother and I find gender on our own. I'm going to let you all in a little secret of mine I haven't really told anyone, not even my girlfriend who's here today. When Zach and I were young, we would reenact Disney movies for our parents. We made a set, threw together costumes, and practiced our scripts repeatedly. When it was time to pick our characters, every single time, I chose to be the female protagonist. My favorite was Nala from The Lion King. Now, most parents would have been alarmed, but mine supported it. In hindsight, I bet my mom was pretty thrilled. But all jokes aside, what this did for me was affirm the notion that from a young age, to be a woman was no lesser role. Another thing my mother and father did was consistently surround me with strong, intelligent, and empowering women, many of whom are here today. You all show me the value of strong women. With that background in mind, I still grew up with peers who didn't share the same gender perspectives. I would constantly overhear people talking down on women's sports, saying it is boring or inferior. I would hear comments like, "Your jump shot looks girly," or "Stop being a girl" if someone was upset or crying. Although these comments bothered me, I always hesitated to speak out of fear I would be betraying my own gender. I kept quiet. I never had the confidence to make a stand, but I am standing here today. So as I think about change, I actually just endured quite a bit. Last semester, I transferred schools. Now at Cal Berkeley, I have changed my perspective on many facets of life, including how I see gender. Although I had a mother who strongly advocated for women's rights and equality my whole life, what sons listen to their mother? It wasn't until I was picking classes during orientation that I finally listened. I had one class to fill, and we struggled to find a course that didn't conflict with practice time or my other classes, so my mom recommended a sociology course. As my advisor scrolled through the list, there it was, Sociology of Gender. I looked to my left and saw a big smile. On the first day of class, there was a lecture hall with about 250 people in it. The ratio kind of reminded me of this event. There were about 8 guys, and the rest were women. After several classes, I just wanted to raise my hand and sincerely apologize to every woman there. I mean, our generation is rarely taught about gender inequality. Everything from unequal pay to gender biases, and the list went on and on. As I learned about how language is powerful, I recalled that as a kid that many associations with femininity were synonymous with the negative. And now as I stand here before you today, I can positively say that I have changed. For me, the inspiration was always there, and that is my mom. She has always been my hero and my role model. She would go through days that seemed like weeks, yet always find the time for Zach and I. She's a person I aspire to be like and show me that gender doesn't confine her. She is my teammate, and with our shared love for basketball, she knows how important that is for me. And this event, one that I've attended 5 of the last 6 years, presents such a special opportunity to cultivate change. This room is filled with inspiration and beautiful people who have changed me in more ways than I can describe. So if there's one thing that this 19-year-old boy can say about change, is that we all have the power to change and the power to change others. Thank you.
I think we did okay, honey. Our next storyteller was actually introduced to me by Frank Denton, who at the time was the editor-in-chief of the Times-Union. He said, "You have to meet this woman. She's extraordinary and remarkable." And he was right. Lieutenant Lakeisha Burton, the first female officer to lead PAL, the Police Athletic League, has an amazing journey. She's inspiring. She has tremendous impact.
I count it a blessing to stand before you today, and I want to say thank you to Donna for this awesome opportunity. Last year, I had an opportunity to be a part of Donna's book called Wowsdom, and I was so inspired after writing a book to my younger self. And actually, I was able to read a part of that last year at Generation Wow, and it was so transformational in so many ways. And my letter talks about my journey as a young child, and I started off my letter by saying something that I really never officially had told myself, and that is, it wasn't my fault. The letter went on to talk about me being like any other normal child, energetic, inquisitive, and sometimes mischievous. But I wanted love and validation like any other 11-year-old. I love to read books and play on the playground and play with dolls, but most of all, I had big dreams. I one day wanted to be like Jesse Owens. I so desperately wanted to run track in the Olympics one day. And I can still hear the voice of my PE coach in 5th grade, Coach Shoemaker. She said one day, "Lakeisha, I'm sure I will see you in the Olympics one day." And, that was my confirmation. And I was destined to be in the Olympics. And did I say that I was the fastest kid in elementary and I beat all the boys? I did. That was one of my fondest memories. My dreams were shattered at the age of 11 years old when my stepdad at the time, he stole my innocence, my virtue, and my purity as a child when he took my virginity. As a result of my abuse, my life took a downward spiral out of control, and I experienced every ugly and negative emotion that you could possibly imagine: anger, sadness, hurt, pain, low self-esteem, hatred, loneliness, brokenness, you name it, I felt it. And all of that led to me becoming promiscuous and ultimately becoming pregnant at the age of 14. I was on a road of destruction, fighting, drinking, drugs, and I became homeless at one point. In 1992, I hit rock bottom, and I was at a crossroad contemplating suicide. At that very moment, I had to make a choice. Did I want to live or die? And in my heart, I wanted to live, but I knew to live, that meant I had to change. So I had to stop dwelling on my past and feeling sorry for myself. I had to stop looking for pity and approval from other people, and I had to start focusing on me and my future and my son. So the reason why I'm sharing today is because I want to use my voice for those who have been silenced by hurt and pain. And secondly, I share because it's healing and it's liberating for me. Healing means to make whole, and liberating means to set free. And my friend, that is what living is. So I just made up in my mind a long time ago that I wasn't going to allow my past to define who I am and determine what my future would be. So if you are here today and you're at a crossroad that has hindered your personal or professional growth, you are in the right place. Generation W isn't about a bunch of women and some men in the house this year. It's not about us coming together to have fun, even though we're going to have a lot of fun, but it's about us coming together to be connected and for us to empower and inspire each other so we can be changed. So you have a choice today. You can leave here how you came, or you can leave transformed, inspired, and changed. Thank you, and God bless.
The work that she's doing, not only on behalf of all the kids who come to PAL, the Police Athletic League, but just in terms of her connection with people, is just incredibly powerful. She's a blessing, just a blessing. Okay, and last but not least in our little trio of stories this morning, she started as one of our original WOW girls. WOW started as actually a panel on the stage. We had 7 girls. We worked with them for 6 weeks. Jamie Olkins here is one of the workers that work with her, with these girls. And we basically want to know, who are you? What do you think? How can we help you? And that actually spurred the whole movement of Generation WOW.
Hello and good morning. My name is Amanda Mickelson, and I am a young woman, which means I live in a world that believes my youth makes me incapable and my womanhood makes me weak. I'm a young woman, and I live in a body that others assume is a dull and unintellectual thing. I'm a young woman, and all my life, the world has tried to convince me that I'm lesser for it. But I've got a secret weapon. I'm a young woman, and I've grown up with Generation W. In many ways, I've grown up on this stage. And since I was 13 years old, Generation W has been my secret weapon. It has given me a voice. Generation W has given me confidence and joy and empowerment, knowledge, empathy, and passion. Its message has pushed me, and its community has inspired me. From the first moment I sat down as a Gen WOW panelist 4 years ago, to last year's discussion of the evolution of feminism towards true inclusion and, more importantly, towards intersectionality, to the historic march on January 21st of this year, and now to this moment, when I stand here for the last time as a child before I go and try to learn to be an adult somewhere else. Through all this time, the incredible people here and those who are here in spirit have been silent and persistent reminders that I am enough. I am a young woman, and I've learned that my youth makes me inventive, and my womanhood makes me strong. I'm a young woman, and I know that my body is beautiful and that it is mine. I'm a young woman, and I know that I still have certain privileges and that it is my duty to listen and to learn from those whose experiences differ from my own. I'm a young woman, and I now know that I'm better for it. I know these things because I'm lucky enough to have lived a life surrounded by intelligent, strong, powerful, inspired, and unapologetically awesome women. As a young woman, there will be times when I find the world to be daunting, and there will be times when I feel small. But if there's anything I've learned recently, it's that even giants feel small sometimes. But as a young woman, it's my duty to draw from the inspiration in this room, to stand taller, to reach higher, to think bigger, because Generation W is a reminder that I can. Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so imagine, innovate, inspire. We have a heck of a day left, right? I don't know. I think I'm washed out already. You're spectacular. I love you, Generation W. Have a great day.